White, so Austria 59, the Dutch 58, and the fantastic developer 57. All right.
Fun game.
Yeah.
No, I knew I was going to get brutalized that whole last time, especially when they were allied and he started moving in over there. That logistics is just hard to beat, but it didn't win for you.
No, it didn't.
I desperately wanted that logistics.
It would have been better for me if you and I had been allied.
Yeah.
Because I would have been able to take a lot of points away from Shrey, probably.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, scoot this way.
No, not you. Yeah. You would have been able to take points away from me,
right,
too.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, but...
So, okay, so...
this would have made a big difference.
Having the neutral?
Well, it would have helped me over there. It would have helped.
Happily spent 3 money on it. It felt...
And then I could have taken one of these, too, which might have been worthwhile.
So, what do you... So, Ken, you've only played it once before this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so...
You're a very, very sharp player, by the way. You picked up on a lot of good nuances in the game.
There are... it's not necessarily the kind of game I normally like, but I love this period. Mm-hmm. And the negotiation element is what really does it for me. Like
that is a positive,
that's
right?
the thing in the game that draws me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The rest of the stuff is stuff that is fine, but not my total cup of tea. But the negotiation I think is great. And the way the game enables it, like it doesn't really tell you to do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's constant politics.
I was going to say, to build on that, I never see any other negotiation games where there are so many possible negotiations. So the decision space on that is just huge. But also such meaningful negotiation that you can do. Because you can turn good to bad in this game on the flip of a dime.
Oh, just because of negotiation.
Right,
yeah.
right. And the thing about the negotiation, it's not the same thing all the time. It's not the same general framework. The ally negotiation is so important, and that figuring out who's going to be involved with who, making sure that you're willing to, like, if I'm going to give up an extra buck to switch these around. That's a completely different negotiation than when we get to the board stage.
Yes.
And that's just the fact that they have those different feels.
And nobody reneged on any of their negotiation. Not once. Which, again, very different than our last game. Very different.
But it was always in question.
What I also think is really good about this game is the balance between the money and the unrest.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know any other game that puts that kind of pressure on you. 18XX is closest, probably. Again, same as, but
doesn't have to turn out this way, but the two sides that got banking are the two sides that finished first and second. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, not always the case.
Yeah, definitely not always. No. But yeah, no, this is...
Which is interesting against Shrey. You clearly had a money-dominant thing going on early into the game, but it
money goes fast.
Yeah.
I've never seen this many so close in the rear, though. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Usually...
I'll be honest. I thought Austria was closer. Honestly,
I thought so too.
You didn't get us the green man.
And
they didn't pay for the green man.
Getting kicked out of Germany was huge.
That was big. This
you and I got harshed on the last round.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That somehow I have no idea how
that was
you
pretty
lost
brutal.
That. No idea.
Them's the rules. The idea was to kind of, because in this game, it's warm enough that if somebody's clearly in the lead, they get a big target painted on.
Yes, 100%.
Which is,
but this one was too close.
Somebody knew. Everybody
to figure out who's in the lead.
Obviously, we were over attacked compared to who. This could have been different.
Well, I mean, but the game played out in a such that, like, especially those two, it was all here.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were very happy in there.
Right, and the German states.
But the thing is, you sided with England. We could have pushed England out of there, but you wouldn't side with us. So
what about the relative balance and significance between Europe and the colonies?
So this is the first time I've ever seen anybody never step foot in Europe, which I didn't because again, the initial draw had me out on just the colonies, and so I just leaned into it because I didn't want to play catch up.
Well, let me give you the converse of this.
Yeah.
I didn't make a single boat rope roll.
Yeah, neither
Yeah.
did I.
I never moved anything out. It was all.
Now,
Oh, no, I did.
is that representative of that, or is that
No.
just the way the game
Just
played
the
out?
way it
Just
did.
yeah.
No, that had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
That had to do with power politics in Europe.
Well, having just played last night four-handed,
Yeah.
it's a vastly different game. So it seems like between all these factors, mostly the initial setup, it's very replayable, right? You get a wildly different scenario every time now.
Oh, even at the same player count, it's different.
Oh yeah. Again, whether you draft or random distribution, it pushes you in certain directions.
Yep.
You can lean into it. You don't have to. I could have gone into Europe and done well. Like I think the Ottoman Empire and the Baltic states, there was a chance I could have gotten into both
Early
of those.
on,
Yeah, early. If I was going to,
Yep.
it had to be early.
Yes.
But yeah.
I kind of dropped the thread of what I was going to say, but the game. Let me think about it.
Okay.
Well,
Sure.
I'll chime in with one thing, which is one of the things that, and huge praise to developing and also the production and so forth. The game is so legible, but there is so much interesting stuff to read on the board state at every time, whether it's your turn or not. There's so much to look at between how the alliance and what's happening in its colonies, and it's amazing because I still feel energized, interested, and so forth.
Yeah.
How many
There's-
hours later?
You don't
Yeah.
feel the downtime.
No.
And that's what I was going to say. I love playing long games with a group that you can really socially interact with like this. This to me is just
So not us.
heaven. Specifically you guys, because you're hardcore, but you are not poor sports in any way, shape, or form.
That's important.
Yeah.
And I don't
Good
think
point.
anybody got down into.
No,
maybe,
no.
Maybe got a little close, but and some of us felt bad. But but that goes away because the I would rather play a game like this for 7-8 hours than 4 other games that I'm interchanging people and
And
stuff.
I'll be honest.
I felt much worse losing that one battle against it in the Baltics than getting beat up in Central Europe.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's interesting,
That's the one
actually.
you remember is that
Yeah.
that roll that I can't lose.
Yeah.
Went wrong.
You somehow found a way, right?
I mean,
and
that was a highlight for
actually-
me. I got 3 2-to-1s that I didn't.
Let me ask
Think I'd
though,
get-
do you know why?
Do I know why?
Yeah, why that one felt so much worse?
Because
Seems unfair.
It seems like
assume.
something I should have won, whereas the other ones are
Contested.
expected. Like this is how the game.
There's
will
a little
go.
give and take. Whereas that, it was just so heavily weighted
Oh
in
yeah,
your favor.
It's
but
affected the whole thing.
but then again, that's the big kind of dramatic shifts like that tell great stories.
100%.
And that's why you'll remember it. This one bad, but you'll remember another game too where something great happened too in this game.
Yeah.
Where I made that impossible roll
Yeah.
the other way.
I mean, I got the 5 points. I didn't really
Yeah.
think for Germany.
Yes.
On a straight up like head to head.
yeah.
Right.
But sadness is
Yeah.
much
So
heavier than gladness.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What about the history? Did you feel like you were playing 18th century?
I mean, I felt
Game of
pretty
that.
gross. I mean, I was a slaver the entire game. But like
It's so tempting.
it's too if I know someone else is, so I have to do it.
Yeah,
So
and
it
that's
made
the
me feel
slippery
bad,
slope.
but
That's
but
the
that
slippery
threshold isn't far enough to where it's not
Which says a lot.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
and,
where
and I like the fact that also, like is maybe a wrong word, but I recognize and appreciate the fact that it sets up a scenario in which someone must, because it is part of the history that's going on.
Yes.
It's an ugly part, but it's part of the story that is being told here.
Other games would punish it more, like Endeavor or Colonial.
Colonialism.
But-
Oh,
so this
definitely.
game, it's kind of, it doesn't speak to it. It presents it, it permits it.
And the interesting thing, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for Martin and the whole crew when they designed this, is it really wasn't a big deal. Like, it was just the thing we did back in the day. And by we, I mean the period that we're representing here. Like, it was just a thing that happened. Just,
And so it's encoded in there.
Yeah, so it doesn't, there isn't any punishment for that. Even if we obviously find how atrocious
And
it
I
is.
think there's a lot you can
common
say positive
sensibility.
and negative about that approach.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a fact.
I agree.
And do they have anything to say? They want us to do an annual 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm not
Oh,
going
no
anywhere, so
shit.
that's that. The other thing I wanted to speak to is what kind of there was some downtime, but it didn't feel like it dragged at any point
No.
for me. And we're 7 hours into it. I've done other 7-hour streams and been just
Dead.
exhausted. I'm not. I'm still pretty fresh,
Yeah.
relatively
Wanna go again?
speaking. That might be a step too far, but like I'm excited to go to dinner and like I still have energy, which I don't always
Yeah.
after these really long streams. So you take 30, maybe 35, 36 actions with your tiles and everything, and the story that this game told, I think, is pretty remarkable.
The story evolved too. Like for me, I think about the change when you decided not to ally.
Right. Yes.
How much that changed the character of what was going on. There were multiple chapters. Which
Yes.
Nice analog to a historical.
Yeah,
unfolding.
that
Right.
cleanup in the Caribbean was immense. Like,
Wow.
I just had to.
What happened?
I had to purge the Caribbean.
And we responded correctly.
But
I guess we'll stay in Europe. It's
That's
about
right.
Europe.
Yeah. But it also sort of bonded us in a
It
way that,
did.
like,
Yes.
I
Actually,
think made it easier for us to sort of honor agreements later on.
And check me on this all the more strongly because some aggressor out there who will not
Yeah.
be named but is sitting right there did it back to back.
Yeah.
I mean, a very effective
That's
sweep
right.
that forced us to take the victim's role together.
Yep.
And for me, I figure I had to purge all in one swoop.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I wonder if, because my thinking, yes, do that and try and keep y'all out of my hair.
Yep.
Because once I do that, it's so hard for y'all to come back. Yes, Ken could have, with as the logistics master,
Yeah.
move a ship in and then bring a horde. But it just felt like he wasn't going to do that because
That
he was
little bit
already
too
had a
costly.
footprint. And then I thought what it would do is cause some infighting between y'all, which then, if y'all are fighting and I'm not, then I can
do
just
other things.
benefit
Yeah.
from it and
We-
do other
like,
things.
we put
it
red
just
and,
didn't quite
we
work.
put red and blue on opposite alliances for a reason, and they didn't get into it.
Yeah, they didn't. It's so
But
frustrating.
actually,
by the way,
that's
your
key.
unrest was your 7.
I mean,
I have to say though that was key too. Like this is equal parts war and negotiation game.
Yep.
yes.
And how the negotiation is traversed will have a greater effect, I think, than anything else.
Right.
Even bad dice rolls.
Yeah. Because if you're us and you start with 14 points,
Yep.
right? Then the rest of it's a lot easier. You don't need as many
Exactly.
markers elsewhere.
Yep.
So
Ken, did you get your 24 off this? You did,
24?
didn't you?
Yeah,
3.
he got.
He did. He got
Yeah.
24
Just like
points.
my
Yeah,
Which
as
is
predicted.
an exact third of what you ended up with, just a hair.
Yeah.
pretty much.
It does seem like when you make a move, it's got to be a big move. It's got to be intimidating.
Huh.
I mean, because that's sort of what you did. You built such a strong position
Oh,
here,
yeah.
and then with these guys, it really helped. It just kind of becomes not worth it. It's like what you did over here. It's like not really worth it. to go
That's
after that
interesting.
person.
I really appreciate that because I've never seen, as I said earlier, I've never seen someone take the double logistics and this and that, and that it gives you a character, so to speak, that has to be worked around.
I have a big ass hammer. Come at me, boys.
exactly.
Right?
How about
Yeah.
I go over here?
But you've talked about that, the sheer deterrence effect of having a lot of these makes them purchasable, worth buying, even if you never use them.
Then
Yeah.
that now then informs you for the next game about how important it is to go first.
Or last.
You know, and there is a cost to taking the freebies
Yeah, because I
then
didn't.
these get taken.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep. And that is, it is such a pivotal and just a struggle of a decision of what is more important, the tiles out here and the control markers or these, because these outside of the red ones you keep like luggage, you keep them forever.
Yeah.
This
So-
is brilliant. The
Oh, beautiful.
as you were saying, the way these
Oh,
special actions work.
you want to do always you want to do red actions. I want to grab, I want to get, you can do it once.
Yeah.
And it's so well done.
I got to
And-
give props again though too for the production of this. I
Here.
forget
The
who you said
artist,
did the
João
artwork.
Tereso in Portugal.
And
Yep.
the legibility of this track and the
Yeah.
way it walks you through everything, it does so much
he
to
came
reduce
up
your
with
mental
such
load.
great
Yep.
iconography for everything.
Yeah.
And we tried, as an homage to the last, to keep their original artwork, but then improve the tiles in other ways.
To where it's clear.
To where it's clear, and where
Yep.
you
And
got-
the fact
you
that
got
they're
the
double,
stuff-
okay,
yeah.
if I can't quite figure out what that means, flip it over, it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We reference the rules.
Also, you have them here, so
Yeah.
you don't see people studying them over
Yes.
here and knowing
Yep.
what they're going to go for.
Yeah, having these double-sided, the tiles double-sided, the production on this is just stellar.
Absolutely.
Well, I was
Yeah.
very lucky to get in with Eagle Griffin Games in 2013, and I worked for them. I still work for them right now, but I consult more than I work full time. But I got to work in a period where they really came from a struggling company to really having really good products. And for deluxe games, and especially Vital Lacerda is a big part
Yep.
of that, and Ian O'Toole is
Yep.
a big part of that. Has just made the company able to really think of all the finer aspects and take the extra time to make these worth the money that, it's not cheap.
Right. Oh, this is expensive for sure. I don't know what it goes for nowadays.
I don't know
My guess is around 100,
Yeah,
120
yeah.
is my
But
guess.
it's
But
Plus, it's
you need one of these copies in your group.
yes.
That's it. Not everybody has to own it. Just one.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Here's a question for you. So you think about the original edition, which is what, 7, 8? When was the first edition?
No, it was-
Oh, it's about 20 years
Five.
ago.
No, it was about 2004 or 5.
Yeah, about 20 years ago.
Because it was one of the first things I bought at Essen.
Right.
So like from that, I guess what I'm asking is like, how has the hobby moved such that that was the state of the art then, and this is the state of the
Yeah.
art now? I mean, it's a big build. It's not a
Certainly
cheap game.
iterative.
Well,
But there's a
well,
market
there-
for it.
There
Oh,
are
100%
different tiers.
there is.
There's different kinds of players. There are casual players. There's hardcore players. There's strategy players. There's family fun. I mean, there's just so many different categories. So having nice components for affluent people is very worth it, and it is for other people too who afford one of those things
Yeah.
or two of them too, to have something they cherish and really love playing. Like Rococo Deluxe Edition is
Sure.
is in that category. It's a really good, solid middleweight game.
We have a running joke on the channel that Rococo is the absolute definition of a midweight Euro. It has great artwork, great production, a whole 9 yards.
And we
yeah.
have La Patisserie Rococo coming, which is by Louis and Stefan Maltz, 2 of the 3, not with Kramer. And that's coming up. The artwork on it is spectacular. And it's about the cooks, the pastry chefs,
Nice.
outside Louis XIV's palace and trying to...
And I love the
really
idea
influence.
that it's a theme that you don't see anywhere
Yeah,
else.
true.
So, look, if you can get past the theme in this, right? I mean, let's again. I feel like we've addressed that, but if you get past the theme and you enjoy, I don't know. I guess epic, you know,
definitely.
18th century history. This is a great game. Like legitimately, this is a
And-
great game.
Each of the 3 wars are totally different from one another.
That's a
big fact.
brilliant part of this design.
Yes.
It's 3 very distinct chunks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, you're layering onto a war game. Negotiation, auctions, action management.
yeah, I mean it's
a
a
nice
Waro.
blend
It
of-
really is a
Yeah.
Waro, right?
Yeah.
And kudos to Martin Wallace, because that was 20 years ago that he created this.
Yep.
And we just have an ability to enhance it to a grander point.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you say it's fundamentally a war game. It's also fundamentally a Euro because
Right,
it's just
yeah.
a basic area
Yeah.
control.
Area
Yeah.
majorities.
This is
Yep.
just on mega steroids.
Yep. It's so good.
And that dice rolls takes out the certainty and everything. So it's key. It's really important.
Yep. That the little 0s and 2 difference
Yeah.
in the draw bag.
Yeah.
It's small,
Yes.
but when you have 4 chits, and everybody else has 3 or 4 chits,
Yeah.
you're like, uh-oh, what do I do? How important is that government reform, et cetera, et cetera? And just
all the changes in
Yeah.
this version are
100%
Yes.
positive.
Yep.
My only irritation is
That one little thing.
those.
It's
But
just-
again, that's my
Take a pen and turn them into purple.
yeah, right. Yeah, to where it's half, right? So, all right. Well, again, thank you to everybody
Thank you all.
that did
Thank
this.
you.
This is a long
Great.
time planning. Hopefully, I found it worthwhile. Like, I don't know how the folks at home, but I had a blast with this.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
really good.
So, thank you.
Really great.
Yeah,
Used deluxe edition on BGG for 120. There you
there you go. Yes, it's an expensive hobby, but it's only getting worse, it seems. But yeah, I mean, if it's a game you're gonna play, then you determine whether or not it's worth it.
Yeah.
But all right, that's a wrap for the week. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe on the channel. It really does help the channel. Certainly appreciate if you find value in what it is we do here on the channel. Patreon.com/HCHQ. Support the channel there. I would appreciate that. It helps keep the lights on, quite literally. I'm Edward.
Patrick.
And
Ralph.
Trey.
Russ.
And I guess we're running it back next year, so we'll see you all later. All right,
See you
take
later.
care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hey, y'all made it this far. That's awesome. Gold star for you. Maybe check out some of those other videos that are listed there. Subscribe to the channel. Consider supporting us over on Patreon. All those things help the channel grow and make more content for y'all. So thanks, y'all.